everybody. Thanks for listening to the Whatcast. We are here with somewhat of another special UAP report.
Yeah. This was for anyone who is about to go on and type in an angry comment. Every time there's a thing about UFOs, you guys talk about. Well, I know, but this is fucking huge, and also, in fairness, it was requested by our lovely patrons that we do it. So, if they're asking us to do it, they're basically our boss at this point, you know. So, we need to please the boss.
It was non-patrons as well, just for the record.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, I mean, they're technically kind of our boss too, because, you know, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a show. So you guys are our bosses, and we're
happy to oblige.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Okay, so I live streamed this thing in our Discord and watched it with everybody, and I have to admit,
I was unfortunately at work, so I missed it. I missed out on like the biggest day in UFO history because of stupid fucking work.
But I will admit that I was having way more fun than I should have. And I heard a couple of things that I'm interested in. But after you got to watch it, you texted me and you're like, holy shit, a little bit with the information you came up on.
Yeah, so I actually haven't watched I haven't even had a chance to watch it yet. I was kind of seeing what you guys were talking about in the Discord, and I've since seen some clips, like I guess some of like the bigger things to come out of it, like a highlight reel, I guess, without having to sit through the bullshit, I guess. And I actually just now watched a interview that took place after the hearing with Representative Luna.
Okay, so I mean, I know you saw some clips, but it just started off with these three gentlemen. Gosh, there's the Gish guy. Is that how do you say this guy's name? I'm sorry.
Matt Gaetz, or which guy are you talking about?
Well, there's Gates was the first dude, right?
Gaetz is one of the representatives that's there.
No,
are you talking
okay.
The witnesses?
Yeah.
David Grush?
Yeah, Grush.
And then there's Ryan Graves, I think, and David Fravor.
And Fravor is famous from the Tic Tac footage.
Correct. Yep.
We were laughing in the Discord the whole time, dude. Everybody call it the TikTok video.
I always do it too. And it just pisses me off that I do it, you know, like goddamn kids.
But they talked about a few things that they had experienced, as well as I mean, before they took questions, they all read their statements, and I mean, it's the same old stuff. It's not, I wouldn't call it same old stuff. It's interesting to hear these guys talk about what they're concerned about, what they're experiencing with these UAPs, and right out of the gate. The first dude, God, why am I forgetting his name? He is the pilot, Mike. Not
David Fravor or Ryan Graves?
Graves.
All right.
He immediately made mention of witnessing a black cube UFO surrounded by a semi-invisible circle.
Yeah, I remember hearing David Fravor talk about that when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast a few years ago.
Really?
And he mentioned that specific sighting. Saying that, and he even said that these were things that were seen somewhat regularly by other pilots.
That craft specifically?
Yeah, that sort of the cube surrounding the blobby thing.
But they get down to the questions after the witnesses make their statements, and it's pretty uneventful for most of it. They highlighted the fact that all three witnesses had been threatened. Their lives had been threatened in the process of blowing the whistle. Did that have an impact on you at all, Mike?
No, because that's something we hear all the time. You know, every single person who's come forward with any sort of, like, I guess, real story has had that. I mean, as outlandish as it seems, Phil Schneider, for instance, you know?
Yeah.
But even like Stephen Greer has talked about how he's had threats against him. And I mean, these guys, think about their credentials, you know, what they represent as witnesses. They've got a flawless record. You know, their word is going to say a lot, especially when it comes to a sworn statement in front of Congress. You know, most people, to most people, that's going to mean something. And when you've got three people sitting there together, unified, talking about their own experiences with this stuff, like, these guys all have so much to lose in terms of credibility. You're not going to just have these three guys come together and be like, yes, this is. So either what they're doing is actually telling the truth, or they're like the disinfo agent all-star team.
Right. That's one thing.
And they're just there to push the story. And the fact that fucking Jeremy Corbell was right in the front row the entire goddamn time,
nodding his head.
It makes me fucking like, why is he there? Why the fuck is he there? He is the greatest disinfo agent of all time.
There was a few people there that I've seen post about it that I was surprised that were invited to this hearing. And I think that's why they were pointing out, getting back to that, why they were making such a big deal of their lives being threatened, and having them point that out was not like, oh, poor you, your life's been threatened. It was kind of said more towards the gears of, you have no reason to be coming to us saying this if you weren't telling the truth. There's no reason for you to be doing this for fun, because your life's on the line just to be here saying this shit. So I found that interesting. It seems like the representatives were interested in the truth and pointed out that these people's lives have been threatened. I mean, their lives are in danger. So they didn't gain anything by coming there and doing this. So as far as like the normal UFO story and reports that we cover, do you find that interesting?
How do you mean?
There's not, I mean, the stories that we cover, nobody's going and putting a farmer's life in jeopardy for telling a story. There's nobody, threatening the dude from Buffalo Ranch. But these people actually are testifying to Congress. I mean, these are people who work for the government at some capacity at some time. They're facing jail time if they're going up here and doing this and lying, right?
Right. Yeah. That's perjury.
So I think, I mean, we've got a weird set of witnesses here, because their credibility, their reason for coming forward, the danger involved in coming forward, and the punishment for lying.
Yeah, it seems so fucking weird, man. Like, to have someone sit in front of Congress and not only say that the military is retrieving crashed UFOs, but also actively taking them down. Well, I shouldn't say actively, but they have taken them down and recovered the craft, and that there were biological entities that were non-human that are being recovered. This was all said in front of Congress by a credible witness today.
Right.
That's fucking batshit, dude.
That's batshit crazy. When they said that, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I had to really let that sink in. This isn't the government saying this. I mean, this isn't like an official statement of the government. These are whistleblowers. We have to keep that in mind. But I mean, he did say that. The person asked him, have you ever retrieved any pilots? The representative asked, of these craft in any of these like crash retrieval things. And he said he couldn't say that. And she changed her wording, and he ended up saying that they retrieved biological, entities, or what's the phrasing? Because now there's this weird term that they're using to describe it that I've never heard of.
I believe it was biological entity, wasn't it? I think it was something along those lines.
Biometrics is the term that I'm seeing a lot. Recovered biometrics of an unknown species. And to me, that's a really sweet and soft way of saying a body.
Yeah, basically. But I hope it's not a body. I hope it's like sentient light or like living clouds of color or something.
Right, they're just like cracked jars.
That'd be so awesome. Yeah,
with like a purple mushy substance.
Floating amoeba creatures.
Yeah. So they did disclose that this whistleblower is saying that they're of course, there are crashed UFOs that the government have got their hands on. They are reverse engineering it. Funny enough, they asked if anybody that they known or heard of had been injured by a UAP, and Grush is his name. I got to remember that. I don't know. I every time I've talked about him, I've gotten his name wrong. I'm sorry, but Grush mentioned that he has known people who have been injured in the air by UAP and injured horrifically by people trying to reverse engineer these craft. He said him and his wife had witnessed people injured terribly. I found that very interesting. That's kind of like a
I'm very curious what he means by that. Like, what if it was like some weird like mental feedback thing? Because a lot of the people talk about how the crafts are like connected to the pilot's brain. So what if it was like this weird feedback thing that fried their brain?
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, the human brain can't handle the interface.
One thing I found interesting is that one of them stated that they're talking about catching these things on radar. And they mentioned that they had received like a general update of radar equipment. And after they got that upgrade, they were able to catch these things on radar like pretty much normally.
Yeah, that's crazy. So to me, it would have to, if you're able to adjust the radar, you'd have to know what to adjust for, right? Or did they just make it more sensitive so that anything was? I don't really understand how it was done.
Yeah, or maybe upgraded to a radar that's meant to detect that type of craft.
Maybe, or maybe they just made it more sensitive so that it would pick up on whatever. I don't know what about these craft make it so that they only sometimes show up on radar and sometimes they don't. But they must have figured it out. There's, which makes me think that there's some knowledge there behind that.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I found it interesting that all three of them mentioned that running into one of these UAPs, UFOs, is not a rare thing. That it's actually common to run into one of these things. That makes me think of all the weird stories some airline pilots have to tell, huh?
Yeah, and like the ones we've talked about before that were kind of ridiculed and forced into desk jobs and stuff because they reported it. Like this has to be vindication for them now. Even though like at this point the damage has been done, but it's got to be a good feeling now to see that. But it's also probably frustrating. Like, fuck you, you guys punished me, and here you are now entertaining it.
Right. Bitterness often overpowers. Rejoicing,
But it also has to be nice to see that though, because even though you yourself witnessed something like that, to have all these people be like, you don't know what you're talking about, you were seeing things, like you're not fit to be a pilot, and now to see that not only did you see what you saw, but you've got two military pilots right there talking about their own experiences, and that's still it's got to be vindication in some way.
Absolutely. I can't wait till they uncover that shit to where pilots of commercial flights start coming forward and talk about their agreements they have to sign to not talk about the fucking sky goblins that are taken care of through the electromagnetic force field around the airplane.
Yeah. We'll finally find out what happened to that missing airline, Malaysian airline.
Right. There's more stuff to cover in this hearing, but that leads me to a question I had for you. This was heavy duty in a lot of ways. Do you think people are going to ask about or ask the question, since all this shit's real and someone's testifying that you guys have bodies, what about all these abductions? What about all these cattle mutilations? What about all these women saying they've been impregnated and have their baby taken away? What about all these fucking implants?
See, that's going to be the next step. And I mean, I don't think that those abduction scenarios and the mutilation are what these things are.
Right.
At least not in all the cases. I think that humans are behind that. It's people that's behind it. We covered the military abduction thing. Like, we did a full episode on it, and we've referenced it a gajillion times now. So I don't really want to go too far down that road, especially it's not related to this, but it wouldn't surprise me to see that as like the second stage. Like, once they establish aliens are here, then they are going to start painting them as being potential threats, which is that's why we had to shoot them down, and that's why we keep it a secret, because they're a threat, and it's for your own protection. Let us fight the monsters so that you don't have to worry about it. But and then they're going to start talking. We found out they're behind the cattle mutilations and the abductions and oh my God. And then we're going to see abductions and shit ramp up. But it's really just a fucking weird branch of the military that's doing human experiments.
With alien paralysis, flashlight, ray guns.
Maybe alien butt probes. They got the good shit, man.
They just
for your pleasure.
The rare people who are abducted are those who happen to sleep on their stomach naked, and they just get darted.
Yeah. Conveniently ass up.
Oh, just a perfect throw. That's it. He's under our control. Grab him, boys.
It's like throwing darts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was listening to an old timey podcast, and somebody was talking about some new evidence in the Roswell case, and they had a lot of great points. And they were talking about how disclosure would rupture the fabric of society. And I thought about what you've said about it and how I feel about it. And this guy had a lot of good points. And I don't think people will shit their pants because they're aliens. I think that second phase that you're talking about is what's going to make people shit their pants. I mean, it's just... What is the government going to say? They're like, no, we weren't behind abductions at all. I mean, what could we do against these things? Of course it was them. And then what are we going to say to that? And they're going to have to dig more into, the government let's say it's the government allowing aliens to do this. Let's say it's them, whatever. For aliens to do what they're doing, it can go either way. They're powerless to stop it, or we're going to find out that they've made agreements to let them do this to people.
Yeah, it's the Eisenhower story, where Eisenhower met with two different groups of aliens. One said they would give him technology, but he would have to completely disarm and get rid of the nukes and reduce the military and all that. And then the other one was like, hey, we'll give you weapons, you give us people. And he's like, weapons it is. And I believe I'm trying to think back now, but I think that was in the Krill papers.
Right, I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a scary, like, if we live in a world where that's true, like, that's fucking terrifying. Like, aliens came down and they were like, yo, we'll give you fucking free energy and all the shit that you'll need to lead a fucking awesome life, but you got to give up your weapons. And he's like, oh, fuck, I don't know about giving up my weapons. And then the other aliens come in and they're like, yo, check this out. I got so many weapons for you, and you just got to give up some people. I want to dissect a few humans. I got a weird human entrail fetish that I need to satisfy. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And then they start doing it, and then they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, we gave you like 10% of our technology and we could still blow you out of the water. So we're going to start taking more people, and there's nothing you could fucking do about it. And they're like, oh, well, I guess I'll just go shit in a hat.
Right. Yeah. They're like, you can make some new computers and stuff like that, some cool lights, but we pulled a fast one on you.
Yeah. Zing in your face.
Just wait. I mean, maybe that's something we don't want to blow open. And what if the government's like, yeah, we made an agreement. So you know what? Instead of just letting them take you guys whenever they want, we've rearranged things to where there's going to be a fucking lotto. 100,000 of you people a year are just going to fucking be sacrificed to the aliens. We don't even know what they fucking do with you. We don't care either.
Yeah, and the agreement was to plant them all at huge parks where no one would know, and just grab a hiker. No big deal.
Yep, there's plenty. Of course, you can't abduct people from the cities.
And then Missing 411 was born.
And we covered that with a Missing 411 UFO Connection show.
Yeah. So, it's all a fucking thing, and it's probably all bullshit. And they probably they probably really don't have any idea what's really going on. And they're like, you know what? Let's just fucking blame everything on fucking aliens and call it a day. But I bet it's closer to fairies than aliens.
What impressed you the most about what you heard today, what you researched today?
I mean, really, the fucking confirmation that bodies have been retrieved was like the biggest holy shit moment. Like in front of Congress, this fucking dude says that there's alien bodies that are being covered up.
Right.
It's wild.
Under the penalty of death, possibly.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but holy fuck.
Well, I mean,
it's crazy.
If the people who are threatening to make good on their promise, I mean.
Yeah, right.
That somebody, it was, I forget who it was. It's that person who was presenting that new information on Roswell was talking about interviewing somebody who was involved with, who was there. They confirmed through military records that this person was there. Their name came up in talking to other people. And they finally got a hold of him and they asked him, can you talk about this? And he says, no, I'm still sworn to secrecy and sign, non-disclosure documentation. And the guy said, really, for a fucking weather balloon, huh? And I mean, there's so many things that like the old stuff that were just so blatantly dumb.
Right. There was another part that kind of, with these sort of things, especially when you're dealing with top secret information and stuff that's classified, the things that aren't said are sometimes speak very loudly. One of the questions asked to David Grush was, is the Department of Energy involved in this? And the two pilots said they didn't know. Whatever. And David Grush said, I cannot confirm or deny that statement in an open forum. And then they ask, would you be able to do that in a closed forum? And he said yes. So if it was a straight up no, why? Sometimes that sort of stuff says a lot. And another thing he said was he was willing to name drop people that are in on the cover up in a closed session. So, I mean, if they were to be able to get him in a closed session and he was able to tell them, they would be able to basically subpoena these people to give their information up.
And all those people have to do is say, fuck you, arrest me if their life's been threatened or their family's life's been threatened.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, you get this information out to enough people and then it's no longer dangerous, because at that point, then everybody fucking knows. So what are you going to do?
So do you think, like, from the time of the Tic Tac video to what we're hearing and seeing now, I mean, like, a couple fucking hearings ago, we were fucking Han and him and about it's the same old bullshit. And we got a little bit of that here, which, again, people's lives were being threatened. I understand the need to cite things as classified or the need to disclose that shit in private. This is a huge step. Do you think we're actually taking a step towards disclosure with this shit? I mean, I was talking to my wife about this. I was like, so what does it mean to you now that they've actually are having somebody testify, again, under penalty of jail time with their life being threatened, that UFOs have been recovered and that some type of life has been found on these things? And she said, yeah, I've always believed in aliens. Sure. So it was not really a big deal to her. So as far as somebody, it's like, I would say the average person who doesn't study this stuff, she's like, yeah, no big surprise. And so I said, okay, now what do you think about what the government's going to do as far as disclosure? And she said, when have they ever volunteered information? She said, name a time when they've explained something to us. Go try to become a lawyer. and I read one of their fucking books and see how coded and buried simple language is. That's the only type of language they fucking accept, and how hard they make it to become somebody who understands the laws.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, wow, okay, so maybe nothing more is going to come of it, but
So to me, it seems like it's a step in the right direction, but I'm very skeptical of what's being brought to the table and why it's being allowed. If something actually substantial were to come from it, then, I think this is the start of it. But I don't.
more whistleblowers, basically, right? Is basically what you need.
Yeah, I'm saying we need more whistleblowers, and we need evidence at this point. And again, I know these people that were there today. They've got all the credentials. They've got no reason to lie about it, and they're in front of Congress, sworn in, giving their testimony. So, there's a lot to be said about that, and I think that does go a long way. But it's not enough to say that one, we're being visited by other beings, or I shouldn't even say visited. That there are non-human beings here in some sort of craft that we as the general public are unaware of, and then also to believe that the government or people or departments within the government are actively working to cover this up. So we've got two very, very big, I guess, conspiracies, or I don't know what the hell you want to call it, but one is aliens, the other is huge conspiracy by the government, and I mean, it's very possible that both are true. I suppose if the first is true, then the second it would be very believably true. I mean, just look at our military operations anywhere else. They're all, the public gets a small little crumb, and the reality of the situation is often hidden from us. I don't know. I just, to me, having this information out there and being presented, not only presented to Congress, but being taken seriously, it's just weird, man. Like it almost makes me think that there's something up with it. Like this is being done for a reason, and it's not necessarily to get disclosure out there.
Well, then, yeah, let's talk about that. There's a lot of people I've been talking to who are saying that this is a distraction, and that can be said for many things. And to me, that's obvious. There's shit going on in politics. There's shit going on with war that they're trying to get us not to look at. It could be a distraction, but to have 3 people testify in front of Congress, that's a hell of a fucking distraction after hearing what they had to say.
Yeah. It's definitely, if it's a distraction, like I said, they're the disinfo all-stars, but I don't necessarily think it's a distraction, but I also, I think it's more to set the stage for something rather than distract from it. But I mean, it could very possibly be a distraction, and maybe there's something else going on that's huge, and they know, like, usually the conspiracy nuts are on top of that shit. But if you drop the biggest conspiracy bomb of all time, then everyone's going to be like, "Oh my God, aliens." But I still, I mean, despite all of this, I still don't think that it's fucking aliens.
I mean, it seems like we're going to find out soon enough.
I hope so, man. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I really fucking hope it is aliens. Like, that would be a fucking awesome. Like, if the world just became Star Wars all of a sudden, that would be amazing.
It would be so much more simple, right?
Yeah, give me a fucking Mos Eisley Cantina and call it a day. Let me hang out with the dredges of society.
Of every planet.
Yes, that's what I want. I want all the scum and villainy. That's what I want.
I don't know if you saw, but there's one representative who asked, it was his turn to ask questions, and he's basically asked them the basic stuff that they've all testified to and gave interviews on a million times. Like, you've seen this and that? And yeah, oh yeah. And what you guys have done this and that? Yes. And he ended up saying like, well, shit, I guess this needs some further investigation. So I mean, everybody laughed. I found that a little disheartening that there's people who are in that position that don't even know and that are that uninformed about that stuff. But it seems like they are now.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta really think about it. Like, even as recent as like 5 years ago, anytime the fucking UFOs would be brought up, it'd be instant X-Files and talking like it's all a big joke, you know? And only since that video was released by the New York Times has it even started to begin to be taken seriously.
I would say this was the most serious conversation about this stuff that I've seen from the government. Nobody cracked a joke about anything.
Yeah. Like I remember the first one when they made a comment because the one dude that was there was a fan of sci-fi and Star Wars, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, are you sure this isn't one of your, you know, like there was no reason to bring that up. It was fucking stupid."
Well, I mean, it was a delicate moment not to do that, and they couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, like ignore everything that this guy's bringing to the table. Ignore everything, you know, all his titles and everything. But no, you're into sci-fi, so I don't know. You know, those sci-fi fans, they can't be trusted there. When it comes to those aliens, they just want aliens to be real, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that it's a subject that's being, obviously it's a subject that's being taken very seriously at this point. And the thing that I find weirdest though is like these politicians never do anything for the American people, and here they are like trying to get information on this out to the American people, which to me is kind of another red flag as well. You know, like why are all of a sudden are you interested in doing something for the good of the people? Like that's not your MO. Why? And so now I wonder if it's more just like curiosity on their part. Like, well, fuck, I want to know.
Yeah, it seems like as soon as the fact that our pilots in the military aspect, like the Air Force were running into these things and the Navy was running into these things, and then the question of airspace security was brought up, it seems like they all started wanting to know what was going on. And it almost seems like somebody knew that's the angle that needed to be brought to them, and they all bit.
Yeah, that's the pickle that needs tickling.
There's something that kept showing up in our Instagram feed. It's a dude who has a podcast. I don't know anything about him. Don't hate me for mentioning him. I don't know if he's a Bible thumper, leftist, rightist, downist, uppist. I have no idea.
How about this? He's just some dude.
He's just some dude.
Just some dude.
But he had 3 whistleblowers on his program getting ready for this hearing. And I saw some clips of the dude he had talking. He said he was the head of some station in the South Pole, and the technology they have there is incomprehensible to humans. They wouldn't understand it. But he posted something after the hearing today. He was there. He went. He posted before the hearing and after the hearing, and this is what he had to write. A lot to soak in, but after a few hours to digest what I heard, this is what stood out to me from the 3 whistleblowers. The U.S. has recovered a foreign craft of some kind and recovered biometrics of an unknown species from that craft. Military industrial complex companies are grossly overcharging the government on projects and weapons to black fund budget products to produce their own technologies to engineer their own UAPs. Several congressmen and women with top secret clearance have been denied access at military bases that have information on UAPs and UFOs. We have known about non-human intelligence since the 1930s. Modern-day physics tells us no human could survive the acceleration G-force these crafts are capable of. There are active misinformation agents. So I don't know if he talked to people.
Jeremy Corbell.
So, I mean, I'm sure he's going to do a podcast about it. Just hit me up if you're interested. And yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to get chewed up for mentioning somebody's name. I don't know anything about them, so I don't want to say anything. But, yeah, it's all. I mean, I don't know if all those things are what were said in this hearing. I like I said, I was messing around with everybody in Discord. I had way too much fun in there. But, I mean, this is huge.
Yeah, dude. I want more. I want more, damn it. I want this closed session to happen so they can get the fuckers to release the information.
But I want to hear about fucking hand-to-hand combat in the desert after stumbling on a down craft and headbutting an alien.
Welcome to Earth. And then punch him in the face like Will Smith.
Yeah. We got to band together to hate these aliens and not each other, guys.
No way. I just want to be friends with the aliens and have them take me away from all the rest of the people.
Yeah.
Take me with you. You guys are probably way cooler than most of these people. But not our bosses, you know, because we love you guys.
You're better than aliens.
Well, some of you are probably not better than aliens, but most of you, I'm sure, you're all fine, upstanding humanoids. I hope that we've got some alien listeners, actually.
Yeah, I know. You ever think about that after like all the shit we've read?
Yeah.
And,
There's one alien listener who's like, they fucking know too much. It's a good thing most of these people think that they're stupid assholes. Yeah, it is a good thing, Mr. Alien out there. But if you could please, give me like the alien equivalent of a wink and a nod, so that I know that you're out there, that would be great. You know, I'm not asking for a big deal here. Like, you don't need to buzz by my window in your UFO at work or anything, but like, you know, maybe send me an email and tell me what the deal is or something. I don't know. If you want to probe me, like, we can work something out. We'll figure it out. But just get a hold of me.
He's the reason why we're stuck at 17 listeners. He's just like, that's as big as they can get. He's blocking
the rest. Yeah. He says no. He says no. And what alien listener says goes, apparently.
Touche, alien listener. Touche.
So I saw this. I saw during the hearing. I saw this tweet from this dude named John Fugelsang, who is I don't know what the hell you'd call him. He does like I guess he's a comedian, but like he does a lot of he talks a lot about religion and politics and stuff. But he tweeted something out during the hearing that made me laugh. And it just says, she turns to me and says, "What if all this UFO info is coming out now because Trump was going to sell the info to somebody? What if that's why they took away his daily briefings?" I laugh and tell her she's crazy. Then I lie awake, horrified for hours. So funny. I love it.
Yikes. Everything's a fucking mess.
Yeah, it's a crazy world out there, man.
Thank God we have you, dear listener.
Thank God we have aliens now. That's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for fucking aliens. Well, I'm not thankful for fucking aliens. I'm not.
Yeah, that hasn't come yet.
I gotta meet them first. I'm not that easy, guys. We need to at least meet.
Yeah, if they are your little gelatinous blob, that's gonna be real fucking weird.
Or really awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.